Why do you find the need to label yourself so extensively and putting yourself in a box? Humans like to label things to make it easier for them to process information. In psychology, it's called schema. Schema is basically a blueprint to process information faster because whatever is outside of the schema or the blueprint is new information to be processed. So, example, when you go into the restaurant, why do all restaurants pretty much have the same blueprint? That is for you to actually easily process that, hey, I am now in a restaurant. This is where I can order food. And anything else that's new, that's outside of the blueprint, outside of your schema, is something to be processed. All labels are basically social constructs. Gender is a social construct. We know from sociology that gender was made up so that we can process information easier. And that's why when you look at somebody and you're like, I don't know what you are. And then now it bugs you. I'm like, are you male? Are you female? I kind of want to know, but it's kind of rude to ask. Right? And so this is why we have the binary concept. Okay? It's just to simplify things to process information. It does not actually define your feelings within the category. Just because you're female doesn't mean that, hey, all females are the same and all males are the same. No, no, no. Okay, you have varying degrees of masculinity and femininity or anything in between in that spectrum under that category of male and female. Okay? That's all it means. It's not defining who you are. It's not saying, hey, just because you're male, you can't wear that, you can't say that. And, I mean, society dictates that that is what it's supposed to be, right? It's not true, by the way. As a man, you can wear whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Just don't harm anybody else. You'll be fine. It's fine, right? If you want to paint your nails, which is, by the way, I learned is a trend. Okay, great. I mean, fine. And I, as a person, I have nothing against that. You could paint your nails. I don't know why people paint their nails, period. My girlfriend would say, oh, it's prettier, it's nice, it's fun. And here I'm going like, why? It's just more work. Why would you do that to yourself? Right? So it's just different opinions. I'm saying that we don't have to be so extreme about it. These are all social constructs, and it's based on the culture of what is considered normal, quote unquote. Okay, what is expected of their culture. So it's not up to us to say what is right or wrong about this. And it's very individual. Like if you leave that culture and you no longer live there, you don't have to subscribe to them. You could say, well, I was raised this way. Well, yeah, you were raised that way, but is that how you want to live your life? Because we have to form our own opinions and values moving forward for the future. We can't just keep looking back. So the reason why people like to label themselves is because they want to define something that is hard to define. So that you can actually have a framework to process things. But at the same time, why are you putting yourself in a box? And it confuses me. And I'm going to backtrack and say, okay, I understand how it was when I was trying to figure out what my sexuality was. I was trying to figure out, okay, what does this whole lesbian terms mean? And then once you're going okay, well, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that. All right, maybe I'm this. Okay, great. So now you're trying to find a box where you fit in, a label for yourself. But then now, once you've figured out, okay, that's my sexual orientation and this is my gender, and why do we have to keep going on and on and on? If you look at the spectrum of lesbians, right? I have identified myself as a lesbian. Now I'm gonna have to see how I express myself. Let me see. Am I more butch or femme or futch, which is cross between femme and butch? Or I'm stone butch? And then there's oh, I'm actually a stud or whatever, yada 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 yada. And of course the gays have their own words, the transgenders, everybody has their own words, okay, whatever the category they want to be in. I'm just saying, why do we have to make everything so complicated? Why can't we just be whatever the sexual orientation is based on the type of person you fall in love with, form a relationship with, and want to marry? Period. That's it. But no. These days, everybody has to have a certain next level category. Now, you're gonna go oh, I'm demisexual. What does that mean, demisexual? Oh, I can only have sex with people that I have formed a connection with. And then you just go on and on. Have you noticed? Children are trying to define themselves earlier and earlier because they have social media. They have oh, so this is when people say, hey, leave the kids out of it. because there are children who are like trying to create the framework of who they are based on who they see in social media. And I'm gonna say something that people believe in that I don't believe in, all right? Because I don't believe that sexual orientation can be changed. Just because your idol is gay does not make you gay. It might entice you to think about or consider that you might have gay feelings. But to be gay, okay, let's define what gayness is or homosexuality is, okay? It is actually the fact that you fall in love with the same sex. Okay, let's clarify. Just because you have sex, because you were curious, I'm bi-curious. I had sex with the same sex and, you know, it was fun. It was okay. But you know what? I kind of like can't see myself marrying that person or falling in love with that person. Okay, great. You're bi-curious. That's what you are. Does that mean you're bisexual? Probably not. Bi-romantic? Probably not, right? I mean, all of these things. So, to say that children are exploring their sexuality because of the bad influences of the world, because of exposure to the LGBTQIA community, and they're just bad influences, is taking away the fact that sexual orientation cannot be changed. I can't influence you either way, okay? I can seduce you and have sex with you. Does that make you gay? No, it does not. Which I don't do, by the way. I don't do such things, thank you. I would call myself demisexual if I even subscribe to labels like that. But, oh man. So that is flawed way of thinking. And just because children are curious about their sexuality, and the experiment doesn't make them gay either way. Okay? Unless they already are. But I am from the camp that children should really, one, not be in social media, and I, as a child, would disagree with my parents if that was placed upon me, okay? But I'm saying children should not be in social media, especially if you're not seeing what they're seeing. Because there's just a lot of quote-unquote influencers out there that are really toxic. And there are children, like teenagers, right? I'm a teenager, I'm crying myself to sleep because I watched this person on YouTube saying all these hateful things. You know, I'm like, please stop watching that. If you're gonna be in social media, if you're gonna be on YouTube, please watch something more positive. And please don't believe everything you hear out there. But they're children. How in the world will they know? That's why you have parents. And I'm sorry if you don't have parents who are guarding what you're watching, okay? And it's true, my mother did not actually guard everything that I was watching, so I was watching a lot of whatever it is, right? So but you have to realize that there's a difference if you raise your children a certain way, right? I was raised as a Christian from the get-go. You know, the moment I was born, I was in church. You know, so I was raised with Christian values, and I know right from wrong and all these kinds of things. So it's different. It's different if you didn't have that framework, right? If you could just like do whatever you want and just listen to anybody on the internet. So these children are putting themselves in boxes. But I'm just saying, like, everybody has their own labels, and within the labels, they have their own definition of the label, because these are all social constructs, okay? So my question to you is, why do you find the need to label yourself so extensively like you're an SEO, right? Like, so extensively like that. Can you just allow yourself to experience life as is, without defining it? So, maybe think about this and try not to work so hard into defining yourself and putting yourself in a box, right? Because you want to experience life fully. And can you imagine if you have placed yourself in a box and then one day you experience something different from the box you have placed yourself in? And then now what? You're gonna have an identity crisis. This is what happens to people who come out as bisexual because, ooh, I have a crush on a girl. And then, ooh, I actually don't like boys that much. Now I'm a lesbian. Oh, I fell in love with a boy, now I guess I'm bisexual, and now I have to reprocess my sexuality all over again, and then tell everybody around me all over again that I'm actually bi. So now people are like, well, what? What do you mean? You were a lesbian for years, how could you be bisexual again? It's because we keep on trying to put ourselves in a box, and just try not to. Maybe you'll have it easier. But this is very exciting. Defining your sexuality for the very first time. But maybe you could stop there. You don't have to define it so strictly. Sexuality is fluid. That is the most important thing to remember. And just because your limited experience or what you think you are currently is not necessarily what is going to be forever. So maybe don't define yourself too much.